to this commandment a little bit more because I feel like in certain aspects, you know, just us in general, Israel, we kind of don't get, what idolatry actually is, and we sometimes can look at it, and I've been guilty of this myself, looking at it just from one perspective. We tend to, look at it, just from a religious or spiritual perspective, but there are many ways that we can find ourselves in idolatry, not just with our religion, but just in anything. Your money could be become idolatry. Materialistic things like your house, your car, or like some people with shoes, clothes, anything. All these things can become a form of idolatry, right? So I want to look at Exodus chapter 20, verses 3 through 5, and let's really break this down a little bit. So let's read. It says, "You shall not recognize the gods of others in my presence. You shall not make yourselves a carved image, nor any likeness of that which is in the heavens above, or in the earth below, or in the waters beneath the earth." Verse 5, "You shall not prostrate yourself to them, nor worship them, for I am Yah, your God, a jealous God, who visits the sin of fathers upon children to the third and fourth generations for my enemies." All right, so let's really break this down. So when we look at the commandment and the prohibition of idolatry, this commandment comprises basically 4 separate negative injunctions. All right. Number 1, not to believe in idols. Number 2, not to make or possess them. Number 3, not to prostrate, animal slaughter, bringing offerings or libations or wine or other liquids upon the altar. And then number 4, not to worship an idol by a means that is unique to that idol, and even if the service would be considered disrespectful in any other context, we are not to worship these idols. All right, so now let's look at verse 3. Right, it says, "You shall not recognize the gods of others in my presence." All right, so I want to focus in on that last part, in my presence. Right, the word there in Hebrew is al paneh. Al paneh, in my presence. Literally, in this particular context in which al paneh is used, it literally means as long as I exist. Al paneh here, in my presence, literally means in Hebrew as long as I exist. And so since God is eternal, so too is this prohibition. All right, it's just as if you were to defy a human king to his face. It's kind of like the worst form of treason. And you know that God is omnipresent, so idolatry is an unpardonable affront. Okay? You will die for idolatry. All right? Now, the prohibition, let's look at in verse 3. Now, the prohibition in this verse refers to all beings of any form that can conceivably be worshipped. All beings, all right, of any form that could conceivably be worshipped, right? So that's your JC, that's your Allah, that's your Sri Yantra, that's your Jehovah, that's all your religions, all right? All your religions, right? They are a prohibition according to the second commandment of do not commit idolatry, all right? When we look at the word there in Hebrew, it says pesel vekal temuna. Pesel vekal temuna, which means a statue nor any image, right? So now a statue is pesel. Temuna means image in Hebrew. All right. This verse prohibits not only the worship, but the manufacture of idols. A statue is a 3-dimensional, just in case y'all not clear, a statue is a 3-dimensional accurate representation of something, while an image is a symbolic likeness with which may be either sculpted, drawn, or produced in any other way. All right. And so all of these things are prohibited. All right. According to the teachings of Yah and the Torah. Right. So now let's look at verse 5. All right. Verse 5, I want to point out where it says a jealous God. He says, you shall not prostrate yourself to them, nor worship them, for I am Yah, your God, a jealous God. All right, so the statement, a jealous God, let's focus on that for a second. So the Torah uses the expression jealous only with reference to idolatry and to a like similar to like a suspicious husband's claim, or like like his claim that his wife is like being unfaithful. Like what we find in Numbers chapter 5 verse 14. So the term refers to like an abusive or trust or someone's refusal to give something that is rightfully his, right? And basically we're not counting this worship of other beings. All right. So, it's jealousy in that sense. All right. It is wrong for us to worship other deities, other gods, when rightfully so, Israel, we owe everything we have to Yah and Yah only, period. All right. So that's what jealousy means in this sense. All right. And the word there is kana. Sorry about that. The word there is kana. All right. The last part I addressed in a previous video I actually just did, talking about the sin of fathers upon children. That's the last part where he says, who visits the sin of fathers upon children to the third and fourth generations for my enemies. The last part I want to focus on is the sin of fathers upon children. All right. The sin of fathers upon children. So, in response to the question of how children can be punished for sins they did not commit, basically our sages explain that the children are punished only if they carry on the sinful legacy of their parents, or if it was in their power to protest, but they acquiesce to the lifestyle that was shown idols, but you are allowed to bow down to a person out of respect for him. It then continues, you shall not worship them. Okay? This means that if the person is worshipped by others as an idol, as Haman was, it is forbidden to bow down to him. All right? One may not do certain acts for any idol, even if those acts are not the way it is usually worshipped. These include slaughtering an offering, burning an offering, and pouring a libation. If someone does one of these acts without realizing that it is forbidden, he is obligated to bring a chatas, which is a sin offering. All right? According to one opinion, if a person did all three of these acts without knowing that they were forbidden, he has to bring only one chatas, which again is a sin offering. We learned this from our Pesuk, which says, you shall not worship them. This yeah. Also in our Pesuk, first says that it is forbidden to bow down to an idol, and goes on to say that it is forbidden to worship an idol, which means to worship it in any way, Why does the Pesuk single out bowing to an idol? If any forms of worship are forbidden, after all, bowing down is a form of worship. Y'all understand that? Bowing down is a form of worship. According to one opinion, the Torah lists bowing separately to teach us that every individual act of worship is separate. If someone did not realize he was sinning and worshiped the idol in several ways before he learned that these are forbidden, he must bring a separate chatas, sin offering, for each act of worship. All right? Our Pesuk forbids a person from performing, all acts of idol worship, even to save his life. All right, even to save his life. So when JC told you, in order to save your life, you gotta accept him and call on his name. Our law says even to save your life, you don't call on the idol. All right. Another Pesuk teaches that a person is supposed to live by Yah's laws, but does not have to give up his life for them. This would mean that if a person was threatened that he would be killed, he did not worship an idol. He should worship the idol. He should worship the idol rather than give up his life. A third Pesuk then forbids a person from desecrating Yah's name. This teaches us that although saving one's life generally is more important than not violating a prohibition, idol worship is an exception to this rule. A person is not allowed to worship an idol even if he will lose his life for refusing. All right, and that is our law on idolatry. All right, now this is self-examination. It really is. You have to examine yourself. Don't just look at religion. Look all around you. You know, are there things, Israel, in your life that you do that you put over the Most High? Those are the things you need to get out of your life. Okay, you might be an expert at not falling into idolatrous religions, but look around. Is your car more important than Yah? Is your clothes more important than Yah? Is your shoes? Anything. Nothing comes before Yah, and that's what we have to understand.